So last time we did discuss about the risk, and then we did discuss about the positive risk and the negative risk, whereas the positive risk were known as opportunities, right? Keep in mind when opportunities are taken, so it converts into benefits. So actually the effect of opportunity is benefit. Like for example, whenever you counter any positive risk or any positive risk arises, so it will create or it will enhance the organizational benefits, right? Whereas the threats are the negative risk, and we have said that if they occur, they will delay the organization in reaching its objective. So they might not be able to, you can say, achieve their objective, whatever objective they have set for, right?
सर एक रिक्वेस्ट है, ये काइंडली
जी
बाकी दोस्तों की अगर साउंड बंद कर दें सर, ये रिकोशे हो रही है बाकियों की आवाज सर, समझ नहीं आ रही सर.
So we did discuss the threats as well, the negative risk. Now, today we will be, you can say, moving forward. What I have asked you people that you can say, review these things, what we have covered and what we are going to cover in the coming session, that is today's session, about the risk attitude and risk appetite and other, you can say, the domains of the risk, etc., or risk management. If you have counted any question in these, you can say, previous section, that is section 1 and up to this opportunity and threats, that what is positive risk or what is negative risk, what is the effect of positive risk and what is the effect of, you can say, negative risk. So you may ask the question now, otherwise we will move forward to today's topic, which is about the risk attitude and then the risk appetite, etc. Anyone?
सर आपका क्वेश्चन नहीं समझ आया, आई एम सॉरी, प्लीज दोबारा रिपीट कर दें.
ये जो पिछला सेक्शन था, मैंने आपको कहा था कि आप ये सेक्शन रीड कीजिए, और जो कमिंग सेशन के लिए जो सेक्शन है, सेक्शन नंबर 2, ये भी रीड कीजिए. तो यहाँ तक हमने पहले से कवर किया हुआ था, आपने रीड आउट किया. अगर आपका कोई क्वेश्चन है तो आप वो क्वेश्चन रेज कर सकते हैं, वरना फिर हम आगे जाएंगे.
ओके सर, जी सर.
So I guess there is no question, so I will move forward to today's topic, and our today's topic is about the risk attitude. Anyone? मैंने कहा था कि आप लोग खुद इसको पढ़ें, and I would like you people to get in interaction, try to, you can say, elaborate your own, you can say, understanding about these things. So anyone who would like to comment on the risk attitude, what is this risk attitude? जी अब्दुल अहद.
रिस्क एटीट्यूड जो है दैट इज मतलब एटीट्यूड जो कि लफ्ज से जाहिर है, दैट रेंजेस फ्रॉम रिस्क एवर्स टू रिस्क सीकिंग, कि कितना रिलक्टेंट है एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन या ग्रुप ऑफ पीपल जो रिस्क लेने से रिस्क एवर्स मतलब मोहतात होते हैं या रिस्क सीक करते हैं. तो दैट कैन रेंज फ्रॉम वन प्लेस दैट इज रिस्क एवर्स टू रिस्क सीकिंग. That is can be adopted explicitly or implicitly from by the group of people or the individuals.
By the way, being a risk averse or risk seeking, that is actually a range, right? So we say whenever we are trying to scale a risk attitude, like for example, if we want to measure a risk attitude, so we say the risk attitude can be measured on those extreme poles, where one is risk averse attitude and another is risk seeking attitude, right? So on these two poles we are trying to evaluate any individual, we are trying to evaluate any group, or we are trying to evaluate an organization, right? Though it is a range, but once again we need to understand what is attitude, what is risk attitude by itself.
सर एटीट्यूड सर हमारे पास एक वे होता है, हम जो चूज करते हैं एक रिस्क को डील करने के लिए. लाइक सर हमारी कंपनी है सर, वो रिस्क एवर्स भी हो सकती है, रिस्क सीकिंग भी हो सकती है. ये उनका एटीट्यूड है सर. मतलब वो जो है ना यही चाहती है कि अगर रिस्क एवर्स हो तो वो जो है ना रिस्क नहीं लेना चाहते, बिल्कुल वो रिस्क के खिलाफ है, मतलब दे हेट रिस्क. सही है सर. जो रिस्क सीकिंग है मतलब वो है कि आपने ऑब्जेक्टिव्स को अचीव करने के लिए वो हर पॉसिबल जो रिस्क आता है वो सीख करेंगे, वो देखेंगे कि हमें मिल जाए, ताकि हम जो है ना उसका कोई निकाल ले। इन बिटवीन सर वो न्यूट्रल आता है, जिसका मतलब ये है कि कोई जो है ना मतलब वो या रिस्क के वर्स भी हो सकते हैं, कुछ रिस्क वो ले भी सकता है, कुछ रिस्क वो सीख भी सकता है, कुछ जो है ना वो एवर्स भी कर सकता है।
जी। हसन मसूद, you want to comment?
जी सर, इसमें दोस्तों ने काफी सारी बातें कर दी हैं। दो चीजें हैं। एक तो ये है कि जो स्टैंडर्ड कहता है सर, स्टैंडर्ड बेसिकली ये कह रहा है कि होमोजीनियस एक चीज नहीं है, ये आपकी प्रेफरेंस है बेसिकली, विच इज डिपेंडेंट ऑन ऑब्जेक्टिव फैक्टर्स, कि आपके इदारे की स्ट्रेंथ क्या है या उसकी प्रेफरेंस क्या है। मिसाल के तौर पे एक इन्वेस्टमेंट कंपनी है, वो उसकी रिस्क एटीट्यूड जो है वो रिस्क सीकिंग हो सकता है, लेकिन एक कंजर्वेटिव इदारा है लाइक परहैप्स बैंक, तो वो बहुत ज़्यादा रिस्क सीकिंग नहीं होगा सर। सो एसेंशियली एक होमोजेनियस चीज़ नहीं है, और एक चीज़ ये, और दूसरा ये है कि ये प्रेफरेंस है जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन टू ऑर्गेनाइजेशन वेरी कर सकती है।
सर रिस्क एवर्स में हम सिर्फ इस तरह कर सकते हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल हम इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं सर, तो हम रिस्क एवर्स में जाएंगे। लाइक सर हम जो है ना रिस्क नहीं चाहते हैं कि जो है ना हमारी इन्वेस्टमेंट इस जगह हो जाए जिधर हमारे पैसे फंस जाए या हमें जो है ना उस पर प्रॉफिट ना मिले। तो फाइनेंशियल सिचुएशन में अगर पोजीशन में हम जाते हैं तो रिस्क एवर्स की तरफ हम जाएंगे। बट सर अगर रिस्क पे हम जाते हैं तो हम जो है ना, अगर फॉर एग्जाम्पल हम कोई प्रोजेक्ट अपना रन कर रहे हैं या अपनी कोई जो है ना कोई जो है ना प्रोडक्ट बना रहे सर, तो हम रिस्क सीकिंग में जाएंगे ताकि हमें रिस्क मिल जाए, तो कि जो है ना हम सही तरीके से अपना प्रोडक्ट बनाए सर।
Alright. Hadia, Hadia, you wanted to comment?
जी सर।
Yes, please.
सर मैं आए।
आप पहले बोल दो, मैं फिर मैं पूछ लेती हूँ। आप बोलो पहले मैम।
No one? Okay. Uh, so let us, you can say, conclude what do we understand the risk attitude. Though the people have made their comments, it is quite clear that they have got some.
I also want to discuss something about it.
Please, Aruj.
Yes, sir. Sir, basically, risk attitude is one's or group's individuals or group's preference to evaluate risk in a situation. It can be favorable or unfavorable way, so one can act accordingly.
Exactly. Good, Uruj, very good. So actually, a risk attitude is a mental disposition, or you can say it is something what we link with the faith as well, like for example, or your beliefs, etc. Right? So the attitude is actually comes out of all those faith beliefs, etc. So whenever we are talking about the risk attitude, we are talking about the mental disposition, that what is the understanding or mental, you can say, acceptance of risk of anyone. How does they see risk? How does they see risk? Now Uruj have very well, you can say, have related it, that it is actually whether people see the risk as favorable or whether people see the risk as unfavorable. Do you people agree with this comment, that actually risk attitude is mental, you can say, acceptance, or the mental, you can say, belief or behavior, where the people see the risk as favorable thing or as unfavorable thing?
Favorable thing किस scenario में होगा?
Okay, let's see. For example, we have right here neutral. We have neutral point right here, right? So, for example, those people who see the risk is favorable thing. So, if they are seeing the risk as a favorable thing, they will tend to be on the right hand side, or they will tend to be on the left hand side. What do you think?
Favorable
right hand side, sir. They will go to right hand side.
Very good. They will go to right hand side, right? And whereas whenever they find out, their set of belief become that risk is a not favorable thing, right? So they will be definitely moving towards the left hand side. They will go towards the risk aversion, right? Now, whenever we are talking about the scale, keep in mind these risk averse and the risk seeking, there is no universal, you can say, criteria in order to see that what is total risk averse and what is total risk seeking. You can say, okay, if we are talking about, for example, probability, or we are talking about percentage, so this is a 0% and this is 100%. So keep in mind, these are just a reference point. These are just a reference point. There is no person or individual, he or she is so, or the organization, that they are so risk averse that they does not want to take any kind of risk, that they are totally risk averse. There is no individual, there is no group, there is no, you can say, any organization that they remain risk averse. It means that whenever we are talking about they are less risk seeking, so they are, for example, lying somewhat right here, but you won't find it out anyone who is lying in this point. It means there is no such person on the face of this earth who you can claim that he or she is so risk averse that it could be considered as a 0% risk, right? For example, let's take an example of this corona lockdown, right? Now, in this corona lockdown, you might have seen that there are lots of people who have taken a very precautionary action, and they have locked down themselves properly in their home. But can you still claim that those people who had locked down themselves in the home were totally risk averse people?
Yes, sir.
They were? Okay.
नहीं,
What about their
No,
ration?
I don't think so.
Were they going out to get their ration from time to time?
Yes, they would.
Yes. If they were going out to take their ration, so what they were taking? Were they taking any risk or not of exposure?
no,
They were taking a risk at that
They were
point,
taking
but
a
it was
risk,
something they couldn't avoid.
although they
Yeah.
were, you can say, although they were using gloves, they were using, you can say, masks, they were using social distancing, etc. But you cannot claim that there is any person on the face of this earth who can be called as totally 100% risk averse. And same is the case. There is no single person or organization that you can claim that that is, you can say, risk seeking, or you can say this is the highest or the ultimate risk seeking person, or the, you can say, organization or group. Why? Because no one can take 100% risk. 100% risk means that everything is uncertain, you do not have any probability, you do not have any impact, and you still want to go with it. So you will find out no person will, you can say, seek such kind of risk. It means that these two poles are just a reference point, and according to this reference point, we try to scale that whose beliefs are what they see the risk as favorable thing or unfavorable thing. Those people who are seeing the risk as a favorable thing, they are going towards the risk seeking behavior, and those people who are seeing the risk as unfavorable thing, they are you can say trying to adopt a strategy which is known as a risk averse. So how do we then, like for example, we have scaled this, so how would we, you can say, put some person right here on this scale, that this person is risk averse and this person is risk seeking? It is totally carried out on the basis of the you can say the mental mindset that they have adopted explicitly or implicitly. It means they are showing through their expression. You can find out whenever they are working, whenever in the way they are managing their things, in the way they are dealing in their business. So it is very much expressive. And another is implicit, that though it is not very much obvious, like for example, it is not expressed, but inside they do believe about these things. So it can be, you can say, scaled on the adoption of explicit or implicit by the individual or groups, that they are showing their mental, you can say, acceptance, driven by the perceptions. Definitely it is totally based on perception. It is not something which is practical, right? And evidenced by the observable behavior. And definitely whatever is your attitude, it will then push you towards, you can say, adopting to those things as well, right? So for example, a person is have the risk attitude of risk seeking attitude. definitely then the evidence or observable behavior will be that you will find out that person is always trying to seek such kind of project which provide a challenge of managing risk, etc. Right? And then it also represent an organization approach to assess risk.
सर एक क्वेश्चन था इसमें मेरा,
जी
मतलब जैसे
जी हमारे
फेवरेबल बता रहे हैं, मैं थोड़ा सा इसमें मतलब कंफ्यूज हूँ। फेवरेबल हम अगर कोरोना की जैसे आपने एग्जांपल ली, तो इसमें ये भी कर सकते हैं कि एक बंदा उसको पता है कि मतलब कोरोना है, मैंने मतलब प्रिकॉशंस लेनी है, ग्लव्स पहनने हैं, जो भी सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग रखनी है, लेकिन इसके अलावा भी मतलब जैसे इसमें मतलब बहुत से लोगों ने कारोबार भी बहुत ज्यादा किया है ना,
हाँ हाँ हाँ
तो इसको हम फेवरेबल में लेके जा सकते हैं, क्योंकि
देखते आप
एट द एंड
देखते
करें
हैं
तो
जिन जिन businesses को all those businesses who have got, you can say, their permission to operate in this corona lockdown time, you would have seen that most of those businesses have actually operated, and even they have taken a risk even in violating, you can see, these things as well. Why? Because they have seen that, for example, if they are keeping all the standards, they would have not ended up with that much of profitability, right? So in order to achieve that profitability, their risk-seeking behavior was very high, right? For example, if you have
basically the risk seeker are more focused on the benefit to get from that
exactly
risk.
See, favorable and unfavorable is based on that. So whenever we are saying favorable, what does it means? That they are seeking the positive side of risk. For example, they are saying about extra abnormal returns. They are talking about abnormal benefits, right? And those people who are seeing the risk as unfavorable, they are seeing the negative side of the risk. Like, for example, if they are adopting risk, what negative, you can say, effects they will be affected with. Right? So on the basis of this risk attitude, what is determined? It is determined whether to pursue, retain, or take the risk, right? Definitely pursuance, retention, and taking will be on this behavior. Whenever a behavior is of risk seeking and or to turn away. So this turn away is on which side? It will be definitely on the risk averse side. And you can also see that it is not true for every type of risk. That same person who is seeking the risk as a favorable, sometimes that same person may seek another type of risk as unfavorable. It does not mean that a person who is seeking a risk every time as a positive will always unanimously see the risk as a positive thing. Sometimes there might be a situation that in which case they may see the risk as unfavorable as well, right? So that's why you will find out the risk-based attitude is always considered to be heterogeneous. It is not homogeneous. Hetero and homo. Homo means it is not alike. Like, for example, everyone, the risk attitude is not same. Even, for example, you would have seen in the research method that you create a Likert scale where you can say things is scaled on 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? Where we can say 1 is totally a risk averse and 5 is totally risk seeking. Now, for example, there is 2 participants who have actually in circle 4. Right? For example, there is some risk behavior for which both of them have actually encircled 4. So 4 means that they are risk seeking, but they are not ultimate risk seeking. But once again, but if the 2 are considering that risk is a good thing, favorable, and they are, you can say, choosing a number 4, it does not mean their risk attitude is of same level. It is not of same level. There might be a person who have in circle 4, he might be taking or he might see the risk more favorable than the person who have also in circle 4. He may not see as that much favorable what the first person is seeing. So these are just reference point. It does not give us the ultimate, or you can say a kind of in ratio scale, it does not give us any, you can say a standard parameter. However, these are just a reference point we can make somehow, you can say, what it's called, like for example, we can calculate or we can imagine that whether there is risk-seeking behavior available or not, whether there is presence of risk-seeking behavior or not. The second relevant thing with the risk is the risk attitude, the risk appetite. So now the challenge is, can we now distinguish what is difference between attitude and appetite?
Sir, aptitude is sir natural.
Appetite,
जो
it is not
appetite
aptitude.
होता है सर,
It is
सर जो
appetite.
appetite होता है ना,
Jishan.
वो हमारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का जो मैक्सिमम लेवल होता है, जो हम बियर कर सकते हैं कि हम यहाँ तक रिस्क आएगा तो हम इसको बर्दाश्त कर सकते हैं, इससे बियॉन्ड हमें रिस्क को नहीं कंसीडर कर सकते, वो जो लेवल होता है उसको हम रिस्क एपिटाइट कहते हैं।
Very good. अच्छा, कोई और someone else who can provide us some example as well?
So it is like before the main meal, you want to take the appetizer, and you know what type of appetizer will be good enough for you for the main meal, and it is like for before.
I cannot listen you properly. जी, आवाज आपकी बहुत कम आ रही थी, दोबारा बताइए।
सर इसमें मतलब एपिटाइट में ये भी हो सकता है, मतलब जो मतलब जैसे कि पहले भाई ने कहा कि जो हमारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बियर कर सकती है, मतलब मैं एक सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलप कर रहा हूँ तो मेरे पास एक लेवल है बजट का, मतलब प्रॉफिट लेवल है मैंने रखा हुआ अपना कि 30% मेरा प्रॉफिट है, लेकिन मैं उसमें अगर मेरा बजट में कोई मसला आता है तो मैं अपना प्रॉफिट लेवल कम कर लेता हूँ, ठीक है, मैं मतलब रख लेता हूँ रेंज कि मैंने 10% तक भी अगर मेरा रह जाए ना प्रॉफिट लेवल तो ठीक है, तो वहां तक मैं बर्दाश्त कर सकता हूँ, लेकिन उसके बाद अगर मैं करूंगा तो वो मेरे लिए मतलब ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के लिए मेरे लिए किसी किस्म का फायदा नहीं होगा, तो वो हम मतलब मैं एक लेवल सेट कर लेता हूँ कि 30% से लेके मतलब उसमें से 10% तक मैं ना मतलब अपना जो बजट प्रॉफिट है ना वो कर सकता हूँ। सम अगर कोई मसला आता है, मेरे किसी भी डेवलपर चला जाता है, मैं नया डेवलपर हायर करता हूँ, या सम सर्वर मुझे नया परचेज करना पड़ता है, किस तरह जो भी चीज है।
Sir, risk appetite is actually it's a willing or desire of stakeholders or organization कि वो अपना specific जो objective है उसके लिए वो willingness और desire show करें to taking risk appetite is such like that.
Desire for
सर मेरे ख्याल में बेसिकली ना
सर बेसिकली मैं जो इस चीज से समझी वो ये है कि रिस्क एपेटाइट बेसिकली उतना एक मेजरमेंट होती है, एक वो है लाइक कि आप एक लेवल है रिस्क का कि एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन किस हद तक रिस्क जो है एक्सेप्ट कर सकते हैं अकॉर्डिंग टू इट्स ऑब्जेक्टिव्स ऑफ द प्रोजेक्ट।
Exactly.
But sir, I think it is more likely related with risk tolerance.
Yes, you can say somehow. Yes. Makhdoom Aleem, you wanted to comment on that?
सर बेसिकली रिस्क एपेटाइट से मैं इसको इस तरीके से डिफाइन करूंगा कि बेसिकली हम कोई भी काम अपना एक स्टार्ट करते हैं तो हम उसमें से अपना बेनिफिट देखते हैं कि हमें इसमें से कितना बेनिफिट हो सकता है। फॉर एग्जांपल हमें बेनिफिट नहीं होता, हमारा वो लॉस में जा रहा है, तो जब वो लॉस में जाने लगेगा, फॉर एग्जांपल हम सोच रहे हैं कि ये इतना लॉस में जाएगा, हमें रिस्क इंडिकेटर आते रहेंगे कि जी आप कितना इसको अपने लिहाज से जहां आप कहेंगे कि स्टॉप, इसको रोक दें, फर्दर मैं इसको कंटिन्यू नहीं कर सकता। बेसिकली तो मेरे ख्याल में मेरा ये पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू है।
जी सही। Muslim Bidadi, yes, you wanted to comment?
Yes, sir. For example, the failure rate of the project, if it's increasing, we will discontinue this project because the risk is increasing and we cannot bear, for example, more than 30% percentage of the failure. If it's increased, we will drop the project, and if it's decreasing, we will continue with the same project. Like
very
this
good.
could be
Yes,
example.
correctly.
Mobile company.
रिस्क एपेटाइट हमारे पास इस तरह होता है कि मतलब जितना हम रिस्क ले सकते हैं, अमाउंट ऑफ रिस्क that we can bear सर के ऑब्जेक्टिव्स को अचीव करने के लिए सर फॉर एग्जांपल हमारे पास टेक्निकल रिस्क भी हम ले सकते हैं, फाइनेंशियल भी ले सकते हैं। टेक्निकल हमारे पास इस तरह हो सकते हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल स्ट्रक्चर अभी हमारा मतलब कड़ा नहीं हुआ सर, ठीक है, मतलब स्ट्रक्चर कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ, तो उसमें अगर डिजाइन चेंज जाता है वी कैन बेयर इट। सो रिस्क एपेटाइट मतलब हम ये ले सकते हैं, लेकिन अगर स्ट्रक्चर कंप्लीट हो जाए फिर हमारे पास कोई इसमें डिजाइन चेंज आए, फॉर एग्जांपल क्या है कि रैंप इसमें इंट्रोड्यूस कर लेते हैं, तो हम इस तरह नहीं कर सकते, हम नहीं ले सकते। डेट विल बी मतलब ये हमारे पास सर टेक्निकल क्या हो गया। फाइनेंशियल में हमारे से इस तरह हो सकता है कि हम मतलब टोटल जो हमारे पास रिस्क आते हैं उनको इवेल्युएट करने के लिए हमारे पास फॉर एग्जांपल हमने एक फंड रखी होती है जिसको हम कंटिजेंसी कहते हैं सर, तो हमारे पास वो अगर उससे हमारे पास ज्यादा हो गया तो जो हमारे पास बेनिफिशियल नहीं होगा तो सर वो भी हम नहीं से ले सकते। मतलब अगर हमारे पास प्रॉफिट से कम हो तो हम ले सकते हैं, अगर नहीं मतलब तो फिर नहीं ले सकते।
Very good. Correct. Okay, now all of you can see that I have drawn rupees 10,000 rupees as a profit. Let's suppose, for example, I'm talking about this profit per month profit, right? Per month. Do you think that per month 10,000 earning profit is good?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, see, most of the people who consider that earning 10,000 rupees per month on any investment is good, right? This could be considered as a risk attitude. Like, for example, we say, or this is actually a reward. It is not about risk. Right? Risk will be something like, for example, what we are willing to lose for that. Now, if I ask you people that this 10,000 rupees could be earned by investing, by investing 1 lakh rupee. So you are putting, you can say 1 lakh of investment on the risk in order to get 10,000 rupees. How many people do you think will be willing to earn 10,000 on 1 lakh rupees per month?
सर ये ठीक है मेरे
everyone sir.
I think it's a good one because it is the 10% actually of your investment.
You can see that you are getting a 10% reward on your investment, right? If, for example, I say no, it is actually
मिलेगा तो हम इसमें मतलब कि बगैर सोचे समझे इन्वेस्ट कर देंगे।
What about how many people would now be, you can say, interested? Right? 5 lakh. Not on
no,
1
sir,
lakh.
now it's difficult, sir.
Right? Do you think everyone? Do you think everyone will now see this, for example, as a very riskier, or you can say unworthy project, or you can say investment strategy? There might be some people who are still willing to, you can say, get this 10,000, right?
Yes. Actually, sir, it is not the norm of the market. That's why the risk taker must accountable the profitability which the organization show here.
Exactly. So in the risk appetite, what I wanted to, you can say, convey to you people a message. It was, for example, you have to always think about rewards, that how does the risk-seeking person, like for example, we do have, for example, whenever we are talking about organizations, so we do say they have some risk-seeking. They do not have always a risk-averse, you can say, attitude. They have somehow a risk-seeking attitude. But we will say that when does they take risk? It is not, you can say, necessary that they have risk-taking or risk, you can say, seeking attitude, so they will always be taking risk. No, it will be then dependent on appetite. For example, for taking a risk, what type of reward do you want? How much reward they want? If they see that the risk what they are seeking, like for example, they see this kind of risk management is very easy for us. We usually handle these kind of risk. But what reward they see that this is not the same type of reward what is a norm or normally they are getting out. So if they see the reward is under the line of what they are usually getting, so definitely they will see it is not according to our risk appetite, right? For risk appetite, what we have to see the ratio between the risk and its reward. So if the risk appetite will be totally dependent on the reward. Like for example, for taking a risk, what type of reward, how much of the reward they are, you can say, expecting to get. So that will be known as risk appetite. So here the document says that risk appetite is the degree of uncertainty an organization or individual is willing to accept. So once it is acceptance, willingness to accept risk. But why they are accepting this risk? Why they are willing to accept this risk? In anticipation of reward, right? So in the risk appetite, you have to combine two things: willingness of accepting risk, but that willingness have came in favor of some reward. Came in favor of some reward. Like for example, let's see. I have tried to give you an example of return, but now let's suppose, for example, there is a person who is seeking in a business and he asks someone to give me rupees 1 lakh as share of, you can say, ownership. I want to make you a partner, or I want to give you an opportunity to invest 1 lakh rupees in my business, right? 1 lakh rupees in my business. Whenever this person seek or ask someone, an investment, potential investor, to invest 100,000 rupees in my business, what will be the natural reply of that person? How would he assess that whether should I invest this 100,000 or not?
सर वो सबसे पहले यही पूछेगा मुझे क्या मिलेगा इसके अगेंस्ट.
Very good. So the first question what he will be asking is that what I will get in return. Right? He will always asking about return. And another case is, does he want a same kind of return from everyone? Like for example, if
No,
you go,
no, sir.
for example, there is me, A, and there is you, B. Right? Do you think that he would have same type of willingness for me and you at the same time? For example, if I promise him to give him 5,000 per month, and you also promise him to give him 5,000 per month, what do you think? Who would he choose for investment, A or B?
दोनों में से कोई भी कर सकता है क्योंकि सेम रिवॉर्ड है ना दोनों का.
अच्छा, सेम रिवॉर्ड है. इसके अलावा कोई और ऐसी चीजें हो सकती हैं कि वो B को खत्म करके A के पास चले जाए, या A को खत्म करके B के पास जाएगा?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What are
business
those
environment को, sir.
Huh?
Business environment or
Business
first class
environment, and main thing is idbar, right? The main thing is what? Idbar. Right? For example, both businessmen A and B are having same kind of business. The business environment is same. You can see that their shops or their businesses are, you can say, expanding with the same, you can say, growth rate, etc. But then right here, what he will be deciding? He will be deciding on that whom to trust. He will be then deciding on trust, right? For example, BC, that B find out that he trusts A more. He trusts A more over me. What will B will do? What B will do in order to seek this 100,000 investment?
Sir, B will definitely increase reward. So
very good, very good. B will try to increase the reward from 5,000 to 6,000. Now this will give, for example, a kind of appetite to this investor that to deny investment in A and go for seeking B, though he have seen that A is more credit worthy than B. But whenever the B have increased the reward, he have seen now this is somehow the risk acceptance. 100,000 investment is acceptable for me, but he have seen now the reward is higher with the B. So what he will do, he will seek this, we will become a willingness. But it is not, you can say, sure that whether the person will agree with 6,000 or not. So the B may increase from 6,000 up to 7,000. So you can see that, for example, whenever the reward is increasing, so you will find out the risk acceptance, the appetite comes totally based on the reward and the risk acceptance ratio. If the reward is high,